distributors in Nigeria right now.
Okay, so you heard that.
So that's a key point. You know, I mean, we're looking for distributors for our teas in Nigeria. We have our NAFDAC. We have everything in place. We don't even have to import it into Nigeria. We have warehousing in Nigeria also. We bring the products in. You just have to come to our warehouse and collect. Once you could pay before you come to collect.
Yeah.
Go and do it yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're in Ghana. We already started selling products in Ghana. So about 3 years ago, we set up warehousing and distribution in Ghana. We're in the top 3 supermarkets there: Melcom, Palace Mall, and Max Mart.
Okay.
And so we officially launched. I mean, I got my NAFDAC numbers. That took a little while.
Yeah,
also.
NAFDAC
We got our NAFDAC numbers for 8 of our product lines, not all 35. So we got for about 8 product lines, and we launched officially in Nigeria in June this year, where we did the West Africa Food and Beverage Expo at the Landmark Hotel. Yeah. And there we found, we had about 30 or 40 who distributors interest. One definitely came right on board and bought from us. So at the moment, we actually now in about 30 shops or so in Lagos mainly, Just Right, Home Affairs, and I think there's Wise Buy. Okay. And I think yesterday I was told there's a new shop called Hulu too. I'm not too sure. I don't let me call the word now. So I mean, it would probably be a wrong pronunciation. Yeah. So we're now climbing through Nigeria, which is ultimately where we really want to be. But I mean, we wanted to practice properly in Ghana. As you know, there's 35 million people or so in Ghana, 200, 300 million in Nigeria. Yeah. And the marketing, the concept of how things are marketed in that part of the world is different from over here.
Yes.
So you really got to understand the dynamics of how modern supermarkets, open markets, you know what I mean? And it's not just a straightforward going to the market, launching your product, activations and things like that, promoter and so forth in the supermarket. So it's different from what I would have done for 25 years in the UK.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Thank you for that, because a lot of our viewers sometimes find it difficult as Nigerians to set up business in Nigeria. Yes. How much more someone who is not from Nigeria going to Nigeria to set up? So what were the challenges you faced?
First of all, you have to identify the market. You also have to identify which sector of the market you want to sell to. You just can't go and attack the whole market as a whole. It's like trying to eat the whole pig one time. You know what I mean? So,
I know.
Yeah. So, I mean, like in our case, we decided we are in Ghana, for instance, we started off trying to think we could take on the whole market. Quickly realized that was the different dynamics. Yeah. Because what you find is that in those countries, although there's a lot of people, you probably find there's only 5 or 10% that has a really silly amount of money. And there's literally the other 90% are literally totally almost dead broke. They actually can't even buy a box of tea. They could buy one tea bag every day, but they can't buy a whole box of tea. So you have to decide that, I'm going to the mass market where, okay, you could sell a lot of stuff very cheap, very fast, but the dynamics and the logistics in dealing with it is more complicated. Or in our case, we decided to be focusing just on the modern supermarkets, which are the biggest supermarkets. Our pricing is in line with what we sell the products over here. The people who buy there are normally people who travel anyhow. So when they see our products on the shelves, they actually know it from the UK or they might have seen it in America or something like that. Yep. So we just focus right now on the modern supermarkets. And then what we had to do is like one of our teas, like our instant teas, which is one of our greatest innovations, which is instant tea that is brewed in 3 seconds, right? That one day we changed the packaging up from a pouch into what we call strips. So that, I mean, that now in Ghana, we put that into what you call the open market, right? Where somebody could go every day and buy one sachet of, according to how much money they made the day before. Because, I mean, you remember that a lot of people live almost on a daily basis. They go out, they hustle, they do whether they're working, and they get paid. So, I mean, depending on what happens the day before, they could decide whether they want to buy a box of tea or one tea bag.
Okay. I know. Because even things like alcohol as well is sold in those.
And even cornflakes. Realize that you could buy a whole box, you could buy a little packet like that. So if you want to treat yourself for the morning, you go and buy a small packet. Yes.
I know. So is this also? These products also in Nigeria?
Yes, they're in Nigeria at the moment. Yes. We haven't hit the open market though. At the moment, we're just focusing on the modern supermarkets. We've just employed somebody in Nigeria. Actually, believe it or not, she actually started yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So she's now going to be doing promotions in the supermarket. So you don't start trying to run right away. If you think of how you grow, you know what I'm going to say? You start small, you get one person, you have a supermarket chain, you focus on trying to make sure the product is promoted well within that chain, get it to a certain level, then you move on. Instead of trying to eat the whole cow, as I said.
It makes sense. And what you said makes sense about not wanting to attack the whole market. Because
and it costs a lot of money too. And you could raise a lot of money because once you're going in a steady pace in terms of, quick walk run situation, you learn and you can learn from mistakes whilst you're creeping. Because remember that if that same mistake occurs when you're running, it's a bigger loss.
I know. Yes. And niche is very important because everybody. I remember when we were starting the channel. When I was starting the channel, I was you need to be for everybody. I said I can't be for everybody. I can't.
Yes.
People need to be able to come here and see the kind of people I bring on the show, what I talk about, and think, this is for me. I can relate.
Exactly.
I can't. I'm not. I can't be for everybody. And
you can't.
You can't because. As you said,
even sometimes you develop teas. I never forget one of the ones that was very challenging was, for instance, our sorrel or hibiscus or in Ghana and Nigeria, you call it bisap or sobolo. Or zobo, right?
Very popular in Nigeria.
I mean, when we first developed it, obviously it's sobolo and ginger, right? So there's people who like more ginger, people who like more sobolo. And we were trying to please both of them. And then the people who didn't get much sobolo, like, I'm not tasting sobolo. People who like ginger, like, I'm not tasting enough ginger. And then we found that if you try to please both of them, neither person liked it because neither of them got enough ginger or enough sobolo. So eventually we just made it tasting more sobolo on the type that if anyone who likes ginger, go and buy another ginger tea. Because it was difficult to please both of them. But there's little things like that.
And that was when you were going through product development.
Then you go through product development. But that's a good example of having an understanding of who you're trying to target. Because you can't really target every single one.
You can't. You started your brand 25 years ago. So if somebody was thinking of setting this up in today's market, what advice would you give them?
Well, obviously there's more opportunities in terms of hitting markets faster. And anybody who is highly knowledgeable in digitized work could really move much faster than I took 25 years to get here, in terms of having, but it's always back to understanding where there's a niche or a USP, unique selling point in whatever you're developing. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, I know the word entrepreneur is used very loosely now. Anybody that open a news agent is an entrepreneur. A guy who opens a laundry, whereby entrepreneur normally is someone. The old days, what entrepreneur is supposed to have meant, you taking an idea that is either not being used before, right, and turns into a profitable business. Now anybody that opens anything is calling themselves an entrepreneur. You don't even hear of businessman any longer. You just hear it. Everybody's an entrepreneur.
I'm laughing because I'm guilty of that. Because when we teach, I teach entrepreneurship, and we do have that battle where we're talking about, could you call a corner shop owner an entrepreneur? And then they'll say, because they're taking risk. They're taking risks. They are responsible for everything that happens in the business.
So it reminds me of the word luxury apartments. Once upon a time, a luxury apartment was truly a luxury apartment. Then what began to happen is everyone that builds anything new, whether it's got the worst tiles or the worst furniture, the fact that it's new means that it's luxury. And then the word got so silly that nobody, the luxury apartment were actually not very luxurious because you could be whispering next door and you hear your neighbor speaking and everything,
I think it becomes
the word gets the thing. Another one is engineer and technicians. Engineer was a person who had a degree, a master's, who knew the technical of everything. And the technician was the guy who worked in the car. Suddenly, the guy who's working in the car is now the engineer.
I know because we have the British gas. For example, they call themselves engineers.
Exactly.
And I used to think you had to go to uni.
You used to be a technician. The guy with a span in his back pocket is a technician. The guy who designed the car is the engineer. All of a sudden, the guy who the spanner is the engineer. I don't know who you call the guy who designed the car.
And it's the same for accountants in my profession. I'm a qualified. I've got a fellowship here in Nigeria. But then you'll find anybody who can put figures together. So I guess, what challenges have you faced? Because people need to understand that.
There's always challenges. Probably talk about one. In 25 years, you go through many challenges, and I think one of the biggest ones to me was about 2009 when the credit crunch era was around. I was busy trying to reduce the cost of manufacturing, and I went to I was looking at various countries because the easiest thing for me to do was to basically take my machinery, put it into a low cost manufacturing zone. I mean, in Jamaica and around the Caribbean at that time, I was paying, let's say, £4 or £5 an hour, whereas in the UK, down there I could get it for £1 an hour. So even if I didn't actually grow the business, right, by just benefiting from the low cost of manufacturing, I would have made improved profit. So I went off, spoke to a few governments. The Jamaican government came across very well organized in terms of the Jamaica Trade and Investment, who I salute up to this day. They advised me on what I can do to do inward investment in Jamaica. Literally give me a sheet, advised me what to do. I headed down to Jamaica, which I didn't know because I'm from Guyana. And literally, as I say, with a donkey with blinkers, I followed everything on that sheet. Set up a 5,000 square foot factory. And I managed to do the hard part, send machinery in, got my duty-free concession. And then I employed the first 10 people that came in the door. 8 of them were basically rotten apples that broke up all the machinery and so forth. But,
They broke up the machinery.
well, yeah, they weren't making inferior quality tea bags. That what was happening was a lot of busted tea bags, inferior quality products, I should say, also more so. And so a lot of batches that came. So I had what I call a fishing boat in Jamaica and a ship in the UK. The fishing boat was selling a lot of inconsistent product that had to be done over in the UK. So where my cost should have gone down, I ended up with 2 factories. The cheap factory making back stuff that the big factory, expensive factory had to keep doing over. Almost basically collapsed the whole business. So after 2 years of taking a battery, I decided to close the factory down in Jamaica and came back here. Obviously, I was a bit annoyed for the first month walking around thinking every Jamaican was the target. Until one day I suddenly dawned on me that, I mean, you can't be blamed the people you employ because you blame yourself because I employed them. I just been doing no due diligence. And I'd actually realized that, I mean, I didn't actually know how to employ people full stop. I mean, my original employment behavior from the UK, because I never really worked I mean, I started my business pretty much just after I finished university. So I never really worked with anyone, you know. And if you came and you say to me, Mojo, you know, I'm an electrician, I would just say, okay, fine, you could have the job. I wouldn't even ask what you did. Because if you said that's what you could do, I assume that you tell me the truth. As you know, that is not normally the case. So, I mean, I got away with it to some extent in the UK, but it didn't work in Jamaica. And once I understood that, I luckily enough, University of Greenwich was offering a course on how to employ people, which I went on for 2 days. And there I met a woman from the city who was from the Institute of Interim Management. And eventually, you know, employed her to work with me 2 hours a week because her fees were ridiculous. I mean, well, not ridiculous, but I mean, she was a high-end person, blue chip. Her fees were like £1,000, £2,000 a day. But she liked what I was doing, and I managed to convince her to come and spend just 2 hours a week with me, and I paid her £200 for those 2 hours because I mean, most people who were working on my production line, they were earning £200-300 a whole week. So for me to actually, as a small business, to take on somebody for £200 for 2 hours, you can imagine. I mean, I'm talking about 13 years ago. You see what I'm saying? But then saying that I set an itinerary in terms of saying let's work towards ISO 9000 because I felt that whether we achieve the ISO 9000, the fact that you're working towards that accreditation will improve it. Yes, and then using that as a basis of turning the business around. In 2 years' time, you're able to double the turnover and get right back on track.
Oh, wow. So that's it. You need to understand. So this is a key thing because we don't have the strengths in all areas. There's some areas where we are weak and it's better to get the experts in.
Oh, yes. I mean, we do that all the time.
Yeah, with marketing.
We get people. Anything I don't understand very well, I bring in a consultant. But you have to have a clear objectives, what you want the consultant to achieve. Else they could just be there all the time and become a permanent staff and you're not getting into it. So you have to have a goal in place. And I mean, you know, after various challenges, one of the mottos in Dalgety we use is that crisis is a dangerous opportunity. Because every time we've ever been through a crisis, it's given us a better understanding of business. And actually, once we've conquered it, we actually have managed to grow the business even more than it was before the crisis.
Yes. Oh, that's a very good.
So we use this term crisis is a dangerous opportunity.
Yes. So where do you see the business 5 years from now?
Well, right now we're in a vertical trajectory. I mean, we spend pretty much the last 3 years setting up infrastructure for growth that we're looking at 10, 20x the business where it is now. Because I mean, before, as I said, we were manufacturing most of the stuff for ourselves, and that was a hindrance in its way. So by forming alliance with various companies that we've licensed it now, and then also now we've also strategically set ourselves up in terms of warehousing in Ghana. We've set up, I have a registered business in Nigeria. Okay. I've got my NAFDAC. I've got a warehouse in USA. We've got a marketing company, working as in USA. We've got warehouse in Guyana, right? We're also now working with the NHS. We tried to move the product from just being an ethnic product in the UK into the wider mainstream market, right? So we spent a lot of time, the same Amazon stuff, right? We spent a lot of time over the last 2-3 years just positioning ourselves now for what we think we should be hitting at least in the next 2 years, not 2 years, definitely 3x, 5 years, 10 to 15, 20x. What are we doing right now?
Oh, 15 times. So obviously it's a million pounds.
Yes. So
million pounds business.
Obviously we want to get to 100 million. That's our target.
Oh wow, 100 million.
So that's where we're trying to get to ultimately. Okay. But obviously, to get to those places, you have to strategically understand what you're doing. You got to be patient. You got to be strategic. It's not a quick click of the finger business. You know what I mean?
Yes. And that's thank you very much. That brings me to the next question, which I was going to ask. So, what would you say are the key skills or strengths you need to have to run a business for 25 years and some?
I like to say that you have to be focused. You got to be determined, and resilient in what you're doing, and also have a good USP in what it is that you're trying to achieve. And then ultimately, as I said, you keep that motto: crisis is a dangerous opportunity, because there is going to be crisis, but you take it, look and understand what it's all about, and use it as an opportunity to take the business to another level.
Okay, good. So would you say, coming from an ethnic minority, would you say it's helped the business, or has it been a deterrent? Have you had to raise money, for instance, maybe funding?
Yeah, I mean, to tell the truth, I've never really been good at raising money. I mean, I think the business is actually going because I couldn't raise money, because every time I needed to raise more money, I just went and sold more tea. I don't know if that was the best way of growing the business, you know what I mean to say. I was told it's not the best way anyway. Every machine that I have, I literally build it for cash, because as an engineer, I mean, I've never really been very good at presenting to bankers cash flows and all. I'll go talk about products and machines and all these things. And when you're going to raise money, you got to speak to the people in the language that they know.
Yes.
Right? And eventually I just got fed up of doing that. I mean, I was like, I put on my suit, I go to a bank, speak all this silly stuff, and then you don't get any money. I'm thinking, I just lost a day in sales. I might as well spend the time and go and try and sell more tea. Okay. And that's how we ended up with almost 5,000 shops, because every time I wanted to grow, I went and sold more and looked for new markets, Okay. But I mean, I wouldn't necessarily advise anybody to follow that program. I mean, the better thing would have been to probably employ an accountant, a good accountant in the earlier days, and let them help you. Because I mean, in those days, the accountancy or finance part of the business was based on historical facts. Meaning to say, I would go and give my work to the accountant at the end of 3 months, and then he'll do and tell me if I'm making a profit. I didn't even know what was going on in the. I mean, I was paying my bills, and I tried to make sure I got enough money. But then I had to wait every 3 months. The first time was a year. Then I realized I needed to, and then I'll be, you made this amount mark, and you net profit, gross profit. Now what we try to do is, like, in advance, we know what we actually work into. Then you monitor how the money is flowing, how the product is flowing, how your inventory is flowing. And I think that is, if you really want to grow your business, that's what you need to do. Not wait and get historical data. Have futuristic data that you're working towards, and then monitor it as you're going on. I mean, definitely. And if you can't do it, find an expert to do it, because I mean, there's people who are very good at raising money. I mean, and even in my thing, I've had people who try to copy my business. They went and they raised £1 million, and then the business collapsed because they were very good at raising money, but they didn't very good at making a product. So that's why sometimes you just find the appropriate skill set. And sometimes with the skill set also, you might not be able to employ the person full time, but even if you could get them 3 hours or 4 hours, but the quantity that they bring in that 3 or 4 hours for that week will be far more beneficial than finding a cheapy person that you have all week that actually doesn't deliver anything. So that's one of the things that I definitely would advise anyone to do.
So anyway, it's been nice having you on the show. Very inspiring.
Yes, thank you.
I hope your story inspires and motivates people. A brand that started
Yes.
I don't know if it started here or in your parents' living room in Ghana.
Well, it started in my parents' living room indirectly. Think of where it first started. As I said, I always say it's a lucky thing they weren't home because you can imagine a living room with all those dust and leaves knocking around, on the cushions and all this sort of story. But as I said, we're moving, in a fast trajectory. Anyone who is interested in Dalgety Teas could look at it on www.dalgety.co. That's just co, not com. That's .co. DALGETY.co. And you'll see all the lovely teas that we have here. Ginger teas, turmeric teas, soursop teas. Different teas are for different things. Like soursop is for cancer. Ginger has its own, building the body immune system. Turmeric, inflammation. Instant teas, moringa, wellness teas, things for insomnia, good night sleep, spinning teas. The list goes on.
Yeah, so you'll find more information. How about yourself, Mark? If people wanted to, are you on social media yourself?
Yes, I am. It's on. Actually, that's a good question. That's why I'm not digital because I have someone looking after it. It's actually, I think, Dalgety Herbal Teas. You could find it, or just Mark Dalgety.
Yeah, I was going to.
Mark Dalgety on Instagram.
Are you on LinkedIn?
Yes, Mark Dalgety again, LinkedIn. Yes,
okay, then.
Yes.
So thank you very much. We appreciate you because I know you're a very, very busy guy. When I spoke to you last week, you were in Ghana.
Yeah, I came from Ghana yesterday. I was there for 2 months, and yes. And then I'm here for about 10 days, then I'm going to Ghana.
Wow.
And then I'll be in Nigeria. And then
yes. The life of a businessman. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Listen, if you have any questions about this show, can you please leave your comments below? If there's anything you want me to ask future guests as well.
Yes. When you're from Nigeria, we're looking for distributors in Nigeria right now.
Okay, so you heard that.
So that's a key point. We're looking for distributors for our teas in Nigeria. We have our NAFTA, we have everything in place. You don't even have to import it into Nigeria. We're housing in Nigeria also. We bring the products in. You just have to come to our warehouse and collect. Once you could pay before you come to collect.
You heard that? Yeah. So thanks, guys.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.